What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another top 5 in 5 right here on Commander Cookout, and we've got a very special one for you today. But before we get to it, don't forget that the top 5s are brought to you by FusionGamingOnline.com, your source for all your Phyrexian needs, and the patrons over at patreon.com/CCO podcast. They inspired today's list. It's brought to you by them. If you want to help inspire lists like this, head on over to the Patreon page, find a reward tier, join the nation. Now, today I can't just fit 5. No. Today is all about the Phyrexians, and I am looking for my favorite Phyrexians throughout Magic's history that have been errata'd into the Phyrexian creature type. I've got a shout out to the legendaries that this has happened to, things like Ascended Evencar, Galabraid, Morinfen, Crick, Son of Yawgmoth, but we're not talking about legends today, because everybody knew that those guys were Phyrexians. I got 10 for you here today, top 10 in 5, but no particular order. Number 1, Phyrexian Dreadnought, everybody's favorite 12/12 for 1. With the recent addition of the Mycosynth Gardens, you can have a 12/12 as early as turn 2 in decks that are already playing Tail's End, Stifle, Trickbind. Slot this guy in if you don't mind paying $100. Thanks, reserve list. Next up, Priest of Yawgmoth. This guy's a Phyrexian. You tap him, you sacrifice an artifact, you get black mana equal to that artifact's converted mana cost. It's sacrifice that's repeatable on a Phyrexian dude. Next up, Plaguemere. Speaking of mana, you can tap this guy for a mana. Also, it has Infect. Very good to sneak those Infect damages in early, buff them late game, or proliferate, because you know that we just got a whole bunch of that in Phyrexia, all will be one. Next up, Phyrexian Delver, a little underrated gem that lets you reanimate, and when you reanimate it, it will reanimate another thing. Double dip on reanimation. Who knew? Cards from Invasion would have made the list. We'll see if any more are going to. Next up, we've got the Removal King. This is Phyrexian Plague Lord. You can sacrifice him to give something -4/-4. He's a 4/4 for 5, or you can sacrifice any other creature, token or otherwise, to give target creature -1/-1. Very effective in token decks. I play this in my Elenda the Duskrose deck when I've got 31 ones. I can sacrifice them all to nuke my opponent's board, swing in for the win. Efficient, repeatable removal on a decent sized body. Speaking of swinging in for the win, we've got our first white card, I think our only white card, in Lost Leonin. 2/1 cat soldier, relevant creature types with Infect. Great in cat tribal decks, soldier tribal or token decks. Maybe you pair it with a Cathar's Crusade where you flash in or instant speed in a bunch of tokens. Cathar's Crusade's going to put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on this guy. Bob's your uncle. Next up, I might get some flack for this, but this is Blightsteel Colossus. You flash it in, you attack, you kill somebody. It's that easy. Here we go. Here's a little known guy. I like this guy. This is Devouring Strossus. This is a 9/9 for 8 flying trample. Beginning of your upkeep, you got to sacrifice a guy, but don't care because you're playing tokens. Sacrifice another guy to regenerate him. Severely underrated ability regenerate is it saves your guy for the turn at the low cost of sacrificing a guy, which you were probably going to do anyways. You put a Tainted Strike on this guy, instant kill. Next up, we've got Flesh Beater Imp. One of my favorites in my Elenda token deck. It's got flying, it's got Infect, it's got sack a dude, get +1/+1 until end of turn. This card will end games, but you have to expect that it's gonna be removed. So pack your counter spells, pack your Tef's Protection, and be prepared to use them when you cast Flesh Eater Imp. He's very good. And finally, everybody in CCO Nation knew that this guy was gonna make my list. This is Phyrexian Rager. I love a good Rager. He's always going to get his man because he's always going to draw your card on ETB. He's good in bounce, blink, recasting, reanimation, aristocrat, sacrifice, get him back. He's good in everything. Not the prettiest guy on the planet, but he's going to get the job done. You can find him with several different arts, several different iterations, and if you're going to run things like Sign in Blood or Knight's Whisper, you might as well run this guy if you're packing him in a creature deck. Creature version of draw a card, lose a life, always welcome. And come on, who doesn't love a good Rager at the start of the day or at the end of the day whatever. So those are my top 10 guys that have been errata'd to Phyrexian. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Big thanks to all the Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/CCO podcast. Jump in the nation, become a patron, great Discord, lots of benefits. And finally, big thanks to FusionGamingOnline.com, your source for all your Phyrexian needs. Oh, wow. Okay.